So easy travel, they can take advantage of easy travel quite a bit. They're just like a cow. You see a cow when it travels, you wonder why the trail wanders so much. It takes advantage of that landscape, right? And it'll try to travel on a level plane instead of going up and down most of the time. So lots of times I'll make a gang set, and I'll have maybe one skull or a stick that's drove in. It might even be the foot from a coyote, because there are lots of glands in the foot of a coyote. And when you cut the leg off, I'll take, in the frozen ground, I'll take and pound a piece of bar in it, and then I'll just stick the leg upside down like that, so the foot is still out. And then I'll just squirt a little bit of urine, just 2 little squirts of urine on the fur, and let it drip down there. And so the trails that come to that one spot, that's where I'll have my sets. I'll let them come free and they can go around that. That's an attractant, and lots of times that's how you can catch the educated ones. Let them come to an attraction, they'll get suspicious around that, but have your trap set on the trails instead of right at the attractant, whichever you're using for an attractant.
So Ken, sorry,
yep.
Are you setting that just off of the skidoo track? And then have the wolves travel that skidoo track to that?
Sometimes, yeah. But it depends the time of the year, right? And where they're traveling. For example, I got places where I can't put stakes in, I use drags. And so they're hunting sheep. And so on those sheep trails, I'll actually have some traps on the sheep trails for the wolves. And so my snowmobile or my quad, I'll go up them. I can't use a snowmobile now with my legs the way they are, but I use a quad with tracks. So I'll go up with a quad, and then I'll set the traps on the trails right around there that the snow is blowing off of, right? But lots of times, right on a snowmobile track, you can catch 2 or 3 of them in a row right on a snowmobile track, till you educate them. Preparing your traps, we're going to be looking at some different traps here, the pros and cons. Prepare your traps early, so you can go on YouTube, or you can talk to trappers till the cows come home on what's the best way to treat your traps. Some things I find work better than others. I find the old method of taking your traps, boiling them, using trap dye and waxing them is one of the best, but I don't use that much anymore because of my legs the way they are and how hard it is for me. I've got a little scooter that I use, and I've melted the fenders off of it, pulling my traps out of the wax because you get so close to the fire, right? So what I use now most of the time is trap dye, a dip, and I use the type that you use gas. I tried the water-based. The water-based stuff works really well for guys up north where it stays cold all the time. But if you have thawing and freezing and stuff, the water-based stuff, it'll start to come off, and you'll see rust a lot quicker. I have some wolf traps that I use the gas-based stuff, and I dip it 3 times, and I haven't dipped those traps for 3 years. Don't need to. So early preparation, so you want to make sure that you check the whole trap out. You're going to see traps here with drags, chains, swivels. You should have shock absorbers on them. We're going to go over that stuff. So you want to look that stuff over early and make sure that that stuff is all in good repair before the season starts. Keep your equipment scent free. Any scent on the trapping device will cost you sooner or later. That's usually where you get diggers that dig your traps up. Most of the time it's that your trap isn't bedded properly and it moves, but scent as well. Those two things can be a killer. I don't know if you guys noticed, but this is what I wear, and I carry an extra pair of moccasin rubbers on my, so when I get out of my truck, these moccasin rubbers that I use in my truck and that, around diesel fuel and gas and that, those rubbers I don't use on the trap line. So I have, and that's the same thing when I come out of the cabin on the trap line in the morning, I leave my moccasin rubbers outside. I just come outside with my little scooter, put my moccasin rubbers on, and away I go for the day. So I'm lucky I've got a junior partner. He's a heck of a guy. I don't know how I was so lucky to find Rob Taylor. He does all my hard work for me now, like fueling up and stuff. I have a hell of a time. I fell over a couple of times with a jerry can trying to put gas into the quad. So you can imagine what you smell like then. So that your trapping is done for the day for sure, right? So it's critical that your equipment is odorless as possible. If you could envision that there was a snowmobile trail going along just on this side of the trees where that wolf is, and everybody thinks you got to be in really tight timber to catch those things, but if a wolf can see through the trees like that little bit of a ridge there, that would be a key area where you could put some snares on. And lots of times, instead of having just a bait, have a lure site. So you would call that a lure site. And one of the things that really works well for a lure site is if you can get a quart of blood, 3 rotten eggs, and a couple of drops of skunk essence put together. So while the blood is fresh and the eggs are still rotten and stinky, mix it all up, fill that jar with tampons and close the lid. The tampons absorb all that moisture. And so if you get an area like this here and you hung at different intervals there, you're not going to get the birds, but the smell is going to travel in a lot more of an area, right? So your pack is going to break up quicker. So your pack will get used to going into a bait site one way. With a lure site like that, if you have your snares where the wolves can see right straight through and the lure is behind it from a distance, that's another key way to break that up. And so you could have your lures site like that in between bait stations, or you could have no bait stations at all. I use very, 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 very few bait stations. The only time I'll use a bait station is when I get a big group of wolves move in from the west, and usually they come from BC into Alberta, and then there'll be like 9 or 10 in a pack. You never get a pack of 9 or 10 in the pack in southern Alberta usually, and there's different reasons for it. We'll discuss it as we go here. So that can be a key area. So right in an area like right through there, and right there would be a good spot. A leg hold down here or a snare. You could even have a snare right in here. We'll talk a little bit more about snaring. But those kind of places, you don't have to have really, really tight timber to catch wolves. The more they can see through it, the faster they'll move through it. The tighter it is, the slower they move through that. And so lots of times you'll see in a real tight area, the wolf's head is in the damn snare, and he backs up. their peripheral vision this way is far better than humans. So all it takes is a little bit of wind to move that snare, or a little bit of shine.
So you'd say I'd be caught when wolves are free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So lots of times, you know, that'll make a difference, right? So when another pack, if you have a trap line and you take your pack of wolves off of that line, the next pack of wolves will probably travel the same area, but they'll have different habits. Okay? They'll mark in the same spots and that, so that'll make it easy for you to find out what their habits are. And that can make a really, really big difference in key on how you catch your wolves.
Do you tend to follow the same trails in the winter as the summer? Or they
Oh yeah. Yep, you betcha. They'll mark the same territory.
Yeah.
Yeah, you betcha.
Ken, if you catch a pack in your area, do you need to give it a year or two before another one's going to move in, or will a year or another pack move in?
It just depends how thick the wolves are somewhere else. Yeah, yeah. I noticed before Tom got his line, I noticed even he doesn't have much wolf activity on there, but he does have some. And then the Cabela's, they got the Dutch Creek line. I noticed a lot less wolf activity coming from the west. Mostly it's from the south and from the east. Porcupine Hills are from the north and the east. From Porcupine Hills and from the Chain Lakes area.
Did you like this video? If you did, I think you're gonna like this one right over here. So check it out. And I appreciate your subscribing if you haven't done so already. Remember to do that while you're watching this next video. Click like, it all helps us out for this channel. Catch you next time.